Welcome, passive traders, to another edition of the Option Genius podcast. Today, I have a special treat for you. I am joined by my good friend, Angela Aja, who is the founder and the CEO of Angela Aja Coaching. She's also a best-selling author of the book, Summon to Fear. She is a certified life coach with well over 30 years of mentoring and coaching experience, training heart-centered leaders to shape impactful lives for themselves and their communities. Now, Angela has been from the pinnacle of success to the depths of despair. And after a devastating family setback, Angela has overcome her own adversity, taken advantage of opportunities before her, and turned tragedy into triumph, growth, and expansion. Angela's message is clear that every human being has an opportunity to turn their setbacks into comebacks and soar to new heights. So that is one of the reasons that I wanted to have Angela on, because a lot of our traders, a lot of our community can deal with that same situation where they were riding high and then there was a setback. There was maybe they went down to the pits of despair and then now they're crawling back, or maybe they're just getting started and these despair pits are coming into the future. So Angela, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Alan. I'm really excited to be here and speak to your listeners and just really encourage them and inspire them to, just live their fullest life.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, thank you for coming and sharing your message with us. Now, it's, we mentioned that you had overcome a lot of adversity.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons I wanted to have you on is because fear is a very overwhelming emotion. And I believe that trading has different parts of it. And so, as a mentor or an educator, I can give my traders the how to do it, the step-by-step, say, hey, do this, do this, do this. What I can't do is to actually make them do it. Sometimes it'd be great if I could just reach over, through the screen and just press the button for them and say, here, just do the trade. But
right.
There's something holding them back. So why do you think fear stops so many people in their tracks?
Well, that's a great question. And I really love to talk about fear, which sounds kind of crazy. But, where we are today is a result of what we've been thinking. And so if you want to go somewhere or do something new or have something new, you have to think something different. And as a transformational life coach, for me, it's all about mindset. And so I believe in all of my experience of dealing with people, fear is one of those things that holds people back. And I have found that we actually fear fear. But Tony Robbins, I think it was Tony Robbins, he said this one statement that really, helped me create a lot of major shifts in my own life. And that is, he said that fear is nothing more than the thought that you can't handle whatever comes your way. And when you boil it down and think, like, that's all fear is. Many times fear is just we're presuming our past upon our future. Right. And so when you boil it down, fear really is nothing more than one thought, and that is that I can't handle it.
Or maybe it's the unknown, that they don't know what is about to come.
Yeah, exactly. And that if the unknown happens, I won't be able to handle whatever it is that happens. But if you think back over your life, think about all the things that you've handled like a boss. Think about all the things, for those that are listening, I want you to think about for a minute, like all of the things that you have overcome. And so you are capable. You can handle, if you just look at your past track record, you can handle whatever comes your way. And so really, if you begin to come from the new mindset that it doesn't matter what happens to me, I can handle whatever comes my way, then it takes the sting of fear away. And I find that a lot of people have a real fear of failure, right? Like, I mean,
Definitely.
really, that's the big thing when you talk about fear. Like, what if it fails and I can't handle it? What if it fails and I don't know what to do? What if it fails and I end up in the pit of despair?
Right.
But I think when we're afraid of that failure, what we're really afraid of is success. And the reason I say that is because I believe that in most cases, we're equating success with a lack of failure. But if you study anyone that has accomplished anything, from a baby learning how to walk to the geniuses of history,
Mm-hmm.
they their journey to success is paved with a road of failures. And here's what I mean by that is that um, when I suffered a devastating divorce, and of course, one of those things that I did not think I could handle. And I was married to a pastor, and so I was a pastor's wife, and I would speak from the pulpit.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I went from speaking from the pulpit to selling windows door to door. I was shy, an introvert. I was, um, just like I didn't have a lot of formal training in terms of education. I had gone to Bible college, so I wasn't super hireable after my divorce.
I can imagine.
And so, yeah, and so nobody really wanted uh, a job description with 3 years of children's education. So I had to get creative, and I found a job selling windows door to door. And I was petrified. But this old school salesman took me under his wing and trained me. And so, he would pull up to a door and he would say, "Now walk up to the door and go say this." And I would, and, sometimes I would come back to the car crying. And he would say, "What did you say?" And he'd say, "Now go do it again." And what he taught me was that for every, I don't remember what the number was, but let's say for every 9 no's, there is a yes.
Mm-hmm.
And so, he taught me, get out there and go after your no's. Don't go after your yeses. Like, get out there. If you go get your no's, your yeses will be there. And
Right.
what that taught me was that somebody saying no to me, something not turning out the way that I expected it to, something that had maybe in the past deemed as a failure,
Mm-hmm.
no longer had the sting that it once had, because I realized, like, this is part of the process.
Right. You're paying your
Failure.
dues.
That's
Right.
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 That's right.
So now I get that. And I know that in the beginning, like we tell just about all of our people that when they're starting, they're going to lose money, right?
Yeah.
Because they don't know what buttons to push and they don't know exactly what's going to happen and how to react to it and whatnot. So most likely they're going to lose money in the beginning. And so they should start small, start with smaller trades, a little bit of money, not too much at risk. But, like in a sales point of view, you can get up and say, okay, I'm going to knock on 100 doors. And even if everybody says no, then that's okay because I didn't really lose anything except maybe a day or two of my time. But I know what some of our traders are thinking is like, I only have X dollars that I can learn with. And so if I do this trade and I lose, then my number, it goes down. So I'm losing and I'm having less and less and less until eventually everything goes away. So how do you overcome that type of mentality? Because I know that in the beginning it takes a while to learn and you pay your dues, but how do we overcome that feeling or that fear? And the fear, I know you said it's a thought, and I agree with that, but for some people they internalize that thought so much that it becomes like a feeling. They actually feel inside their stomach or inside their gut or something, like they're about to put a trade on and they start shaking because that feeling of that they're going to lose, maybe they've already convinced themselves that they're going to lose. I don't know. How would you handle that?
Well, I think that we're used to, again, like, fearing fear. And we think that if we fear, that should stop us, or that holds us back. But the old saying of like, fear, feel the fear and do it anyway. Like, fear does not, when you change your mindset about what fear really is, then it no longer has to stop you. It can literally be the thing that catapults you into it, because it's not fear or lack of fear that actually makes you the money. It's the action.
Mm-hmm.
It's pressing that button.
Right.
And the other thing is that what I teach people that I work with is that loss does not have to equal lack.
Okay. Could you repeat that? Because you cut out a little bit.
Yeah, loss does not have to equal lack.
Okay.
Loss could equal investment,
Mm-hmm.
that you're investing into your future, like you're investing into your knowledge, you're investing into your wisdom,
You're gaining experience
you're getting
by learning
experience.
what not to do.
That's it. That's it. And so I think that, again, like looking at it from a mindset point, that we move in the direction of what we focus on. So really it has to do what we're focusing on. So like, I still fear. I
Mm-hmm.
still feel afraid all the
Right.
time.
Right.
But it's what I focus on, that it and what I focus it on is the end result that I'm looking for, and that it's the experience that I want to gain from my actions. And so then that gives me the courage to take action, because I'm not identifying the, I'm not letting that identifying that fear as and loss as failure,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm identifying it as, hey, this is a part of my process.
So it's just steps on the path.
That's it.
So what I'm hearing is that you're saying that it's more of a mindset than
Mhm.
anything else, and that we should be, instead of looking and saying, okay, what's the worst that's going to happen, we should be looking at, hey, why don't we focus on what's good that's going to happen, or what is the best that could happen? Focus on that, not worry about the bad stuff.
That's it. That's it right there. A lot of times when people come to me, they want to, have coaching, want to work with me. They're thinking about all the things that are going wrong in their life, and they're thinking about all their problems,
Mm-hmm.
and they're thinking about like all the things that are stopping them. But I like to ask this one question, because one question can change the whole world. One question can change everything. And so this one question really changed the game for me. And I was thinking about my setback and all of the wrong that had been done to me. And, I was thinking about all the bad in my situation.
Mm-hmm.
And someone said to me, they said, what's great about that? And I was like, what are you talking
Yeah.
about? What's great about the fact, okay, I'm divorced, I'm living on the floor. I went from wearing a Rolex with diamonds to selling windows door to door, to standing in the food stamp line.
Yeah.
What's great about that? Yeah, I don't know. But it caused me to dig deep, and it caused me to really think about, okay, how can this serve me? How can this become a stepping stone for me? And so when it comes to, you know, pushing the button and learning trading, I think if you just realize that, if you're feeling afraid, it's just the mindset that, oh my gosh, if I push the button, I might lose this. Well, you can handle it. And loss does not equal lack. Loss means you're investing in yourself. And so you start thinking about, even if you've had a loss, hey, what is great about this? What are the lessons that you learned that you will apply next time
Hmm.
to, that will lead to your actual success?
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there's so many there's so many stories we get. Like one of the things that I really enjoy is when somebody emails us or calls us and we're talking to somebody about their first trade. You know, the very, very first they put on this and, oh, I did this and it worked exactly like you said it was going to be. And it's like, okay, that's great that you made money. I don't really care about that part. But the fact that you took action and you actually did it, to me, that's like breaking the barrier. That's like, okay, if you can do that first step, you know, you can break the ice, then yeah, you can just do it over and over and over and over again. And I totally hear what you're saying, because even now, you know, I mean, I've been trading for, I don't know, maybe 15 years now, full time. I'll have to check the exact numbers, but
Yeah.
it's somewhere around there. And, you know, I have a lot of money invested in the stock market, and people ask me, it's like, you know, what if it goes down tomorrow? You know, it could go down. It could, that could happen. And so we put things in place to protect ourselves. But I know that I can't really control it, but I know that it's a long game. Like you said, you know, it's not just knocking on one door and if you don't make the sale, you get shot in the head. It's not like that. You know, you
Exactly.
get to do it again and again. And so I want to play the game where I'm going to be doing this for the next 15, 20, 30 years. And so if I'm playing that game, the long game, then, you know, I'm not taking as big risks as other people are that get blown up and lose everything. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, you know, if we set it up in that way where we know the risk and we know what the gain is, but we focus on the gain more, then even if we do lose once in a while, it's not going to totally destroy us.
Yeah. Yeah. And, another question that my coach years ago, my very first coach that I had asked me was, again, one of those questions that kind of like made my mind go, "Er," like, what? Um, Here I was, I had been, again, divorced and living on the floor with my kids. I had been, um, he had been, he had made some decisions that didn't include his family and that kind of thing. And so, I was being I was stuck as the victim. Even though I had been victimized,
Hmm.
I stayed the victim, in my mindset, and I wasn't moving forward. And because that felt easier for me just to stay the victim.
Exactly.
And my coach asked me this one question, and she said, "What was your contribution?" And I mean, that question, like, it made me really mad.
What was
You
your
know,
contribution?
yes,
I'm going to write
so
that down too.
here I was the one that had been victimized in a sense that,
Right.
I had been done wrong. And she asked me, "What was your contribution?" And it made me so angry, but I decided to sit with that question. And I realized that my contribution was that, I didn't know who I was. I didn't know. I lived my life trying to make everyone else happy, and I had completely lost my joy. And because I was brave enough to sit with that question, it really opened the door for me to for what I do now,
Hmm.
and helping people really discover their purpose, why they're here, really shift their mindsets. And the reason I bring that question up is because I think that's a great question for your listeners, that, if they have lost in the market, it would be real easy for them to say, well, it was the market's fault,
Yeah, exactly.
you know, and feel like they're the victim to the market. But if they ask themselves that question, well, what was your contribution? Well, if you've set yourself up, like you said, with protection, layers of protection, then again, that loss does not take you out.
Hmm.
And so, really sitting with that question, um, you know, what is your, if you've lost, what was your contribution? And again, what it does is it pulls those lessons out so that the sting of loss, uh, it becomes a gift to you.
Yeah, that's big. That's huge right there. How to get over that. Because we have so many people who want to, I mean, they sincerely they want to achieve, they want to learn, they want to take the next step, but there's something blocking them. And a lot of times it's like, what's the problem? You know, we've shown you examples that it works. We've shown you other people that, you know, have it's worked for them. It's been working for me. What is it that's holding you back? And they're always like, well, you know, I tried something else in the past and it didn't work, or, you know, I tried to learn it and I lost because of the market, or because of something else, or because of this other course that I took, or, you know, the economy was bad, or my spouse wasn't helpful, or it's always, like you said, it's always something else. It's not,
Hmm.
you know, it very few times do I hear that, oh, you know what, I just didn't pay attention and that's why I
Yeah.
lost money. You know,
Right.
there,
Right.
there's very little self-responsibility. It's always, you know, something else, something else. So how do we, so is it that simple? Just ask yourself that question and sit with it and until you come up with the answer?
Well, I mean, yes, it is that simple. And we make it, I know we make it a lot harder. It comes down to, what do you want? As human beings, we only have two motivations. We're either going after what we want, or we're avoiding what we don't want.
Exactly.
And so if you decide, get really clear about what you want, and then go after that, then fear is nothing more. You can recognize fear. It's nothing more than just an excuse. And so, because if we make something hard, like, how many times I'm sure you hear this a lot. People say, well, this is hard.
Hmm.
If you make something hard, then it becomes unattainable, right? Like, in our minds, we say it's hard, and that, like, lets
Right.
us off the hook. So if it's unattainable, then it becomes our excuse. Well, we don't have to do it. We don't have to figure it out. We don't have to go make another trade and try it again because it's hard.
Exactly. Either that,
And so,
you know, they say something like, oh, I can't predict what the market is going to do or what the stock is going to do, or I don't know how to do X. Whether it's, I don't know how to look at the trade or analyze it, or look at the little lines on the charts that people draw all over the place. It's
yeah,
always, I don't know how to do this, so I'm not going to do anything at all.
right, right. And so, you know, yeah, it is that easy. Focus on what you want. If that's what you want and you want to go for it, then invest in yourself and consider those losses your investment, and feel the fear and do it anyway. And and just learn and grow. Um like you said earlier, when I was out there knocking on doors, I literally came back to the car crying every day my first week. And I could have just given up, but because I did not give up, I just kept doing it anyway.
Hmm.
And I would keep making those, small little tweaks. I'd come back to the car and he'd say, "What'd you say?" And he'd say, "No, go back out and say, but don't say that, say this." And I would go do that. I trusted the process, and I trusted my coach.
Hmm.
And I ended up becoming number one in 5 states.
Wow.
And so, and here I was, this, shy, introverted, mother of four that had just been divorced. And so it's, those things, fear and loss and lack of knowledge, like, we're used to letting those stop us, but they can also, at the same time that they can stop you, they can be the thing that fuels you.
So yeah, I totally agree with you. And so I think in this situation, would you say that that you succeeded because anybody else could have done the same thing, right? Anybody, I mean, if you'll agree with me that,
Yes.
you know, there wasn't anything magical about what you did or what he told you.
Right.
There's some tricks, but yeah, everybody could learn from him. Everybody could go do the same thing. So would
Sure.
you say, and I'm sure this is true in most sales organizations, most of the people don't survive. They fall out, they give up, they quit, they fail at selling. So for you to be number one in 5 states, would you say it was because of your overwhelming drive of what you wanted, or were you afraid of what was going to happen if you did not succeed?
I think it started out at first. This was before I, understood coaching. So I think at first, when I was doing that, I think there was a fear of like, okay, I have 4 kids to take care of. I have 4 kids to put through college. Like, what the heck am I going to do? I don't have a good resume. And so I think there was some fear, but I think it did switch. And because I remember a point where something like rose up inside of me, and I decided that I was no longer going to be the victim, and I decided that I was going to be a success, and that like a little failure here and there did not detract from who I was as a person. Like
Mm-hmm.
I decided I am a successful person. And so because I'm a successful person, I'm going to get out there and take the actions that a successful person would take. And so I ended up successful.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it did start out that way. Um, but I do remember that moment when there was a shift inside of me, and I was like, you know what? I don't care how many doors I have to knock on. Like, I'm going to go connect with people. I believed in the product.
Mm-hmm.
I really did. I mean, as funny as it sounds, like I loved the windows that we sold, and they really did help people. Um, they were, triple pane, and they cut people's energy bills. And I knew what I did is I learned the art of walking up to a house I learned the art of only to the houses that I knew had all the buying signs, and they really needed the windows, and so I learned my art. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that applies to, your listeners, is that you do have to learn the art and learn the skill. One of the things that I teach is confidence for women.
Uh-huh.
But confidence is not the confidence that I teach is not just, walking into a room and feeling good about yourself. My definition of confidence is the way that Amelia Earhart defined it. And she defined confidence as the willingness to go after her impossible and the belief in herself that she could make it happen. Now, she was the first woman to cross the transatlantic flying
Right.
solo. And it had never been done, especially not even by a woman. And so, like, she was stepping out and stepping into an arena. There was no path for her. She had to go out and create the path. And so it took this bravery, but she decided, this is the impossible that I want to create, and I'm just going to go after it and believe in myself that I can do it. And so, you know, that is what she attributes her ability to accomplish such a great feat to, was that right there.
Wow.
And so with your listeners, like, just decide, hey, I want to be successful at this. This is what I want. And I'm going to put the time in, put the effort in. I'm going to learn the skill. I'm going to learn the art, but I'm also going to believe in myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to take the necessary steps to protect myself financially. Like, obviously, I'm guessing that you're not encouraging, people that if this is like their last dollar, put your
No,
last
no,
dollar
no,
in,
no.
so there's they have to be smart about it and
Right.
listen to their coach, but just that belief, like, a loss is not going to define me and take away who I define myself as successful.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. So I do have a follow-up question on that one. Was when you had that epiphany, when you had that switch, that mental switch, that
Mhm.
you went from victim to, I guess, victor.
Yeah.
Um, how did you make that switch? Was it something that just occurred to you, or something happened, or was it something that did you have a coach that was helping you, or what was that process like?
You know, I think that probably was about the time when I did have a coach, because um, she really helped me. What she really helped me do was step out of that victimhood and living that victimhood every day. So, but I think before everything had happened, before my setback had occurred, I did a lot of reading. I was always studying success and the mindsets of a successful person. And so I think there were like seeds inside of me
Mm-hmm.
that that were there. And when a seed goes into the ground, it's covered up by dirt,
Mm-hmm.
and sometimes it's covered up by manure. But that manure, the stuff we go through in life is what feeds us and expedites our growth. And so I think there were seeds inside of me of success.
Mm-hmm.
And I grew up in a Christian home. I grew up, we had success in the ministry right away. And so I kind of was in that. I had the perfect life, so I thought. And but it was that setback. Without that setback, that became the fertilizer for all of the success principles that I had put inside of me in my younger years. I think the setback, it really did become that fertilizer. And then just sitting in that place of really thinking about, what do I want? And like, here I have basically like lost everything.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what do I want to do with this? I can even just stay here and, kind of stew in this negative spot, or I can make something of this. And I think that's what I was thinking, like, okay, what am I going to do with this? I have an opportunity to reinvent myself. And so I decided that's what I wanted, and I started going after that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I had a similar story, but I don't know. Like for me, when I started investing and trading, I lost a lot of money right off the bat.
Hmm.
And it was at the point where I had lost so much, and we were financially, we were kind of desperate. And so it was, okay, either I need to turn it around like right away, or I need to go out and get a job.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I had that, my back to the wall feeling. I had like, you have to succeed no matter what, because the alternative was too painful.
Yep.
And so since then, we've had success, and things have been built. But it's interesting, and I asked that question because I don't know if I've actually made that switch yet in my
Huh.
mind. I don't know if I've like, I have confidence in my trades, like I know what I'm doing.
Hmm.
But if somebody were to say, if somebody, was introduced me as, oh my God, look, here's a super successful trader, I'd be like, oh, knock it off. That's not me, so I still have issues with that part of it, of seeing myself as the new me that I've wanted to be, or that maybe even I am based on the numbers. Other people say that all the time, but to me, it's like, nah, that's anybody could do that. So
Yeah.
it's
Well,
interesting.
I have to bring it back here. I know this might sound a little funny for your readers, but I, um, I have a butterfly necklace on here because I'm known as the butterfly lady, and I did not intend on becoming the butterfly lady. But what happened is that I realized that um, I started looking at the journey of my life, and I started realizing that um, my life, my journey, it mimicked that of a caterpillar going to a butterfly. And so I wrote a book called Summon to Soar,
Hmm.
5 Stages of the Rise of a Woman. And so in that book, I show how every woman, actually every human being, has an opportunity to go through 5 stages to make their greatest comeback. And so but there's something so interesting about the butterfly. And I know most of your listeners are probably guys and they're probably thinking, what in the world am I going to learn from a butterfly? But this is really incredible. And that when the caterpillar goes into the cocoon, most of the times the cocoon hangs upside down. And so
Right.
there's times in our lives when life gets turned upside down. But when life gets turned upside down, that means you're properly positioned for a transformation. And I don't know if you know this, Alan, but did you know that the caterpillar does not turn into the butterfly?
No. That's not what my 4-year-old told me. She told me just the other day. She's like, this happens and this happens and this happens and this happens.
Well, listen, let me explain myself. Okay. So the DNA of the butterfly is inside of the caterpillar.
Mm-hmm.
When the caterpillar goes into the cocoon, enzymes are released that literally melt her into liquid form, and they actually call it pupa soup. So the encasement, the old encasement has to be melted away so that the DNA of that butterfly can be revealed, reshaped, and reformed. And so I believe it's the same with us as human beings, that the DNA of our purpose, the DNA of our greatness is inside of us, but we have to be willing to let go of the man or the woman that was created by fears, failures, and disappointments. And so this is so incredible. But when the whole time that the caterpillar is in the cocoon, she can't excrete. And so she can't go to the bathroom.
Mm-hmm.
And so here she is, she's face to face, excuse my language, but she's face to face with her own crap.
Uh-huh.
And so, it's when we take time to, sit with ourselves and look at the old fears, failures, and imperfections that we have allowed to define us as a caterpillar, that, that's when the transformation can take place. And so, if she goes through the full process, she's this little caterpillar, she's in the cocoon, she becomes liquid form, the DNA of the butterfly starts to, go through this transformation, and she becomes this beautiful butterfly. And all of a sudden she's like, okay, I know it's time to break out.
Mm-hmm.
And the only way for her to break out is to kick her way out. And so, sometimes breakthrough is hard work.
Yeah.
So even with your listeners, like when they're trying to break through to their next level financially, and they're going to use trading as that avenue,
Mm-hmm.
this is not supposed to be an easy road. Like breaking through your mindsets that have held you captive where you're at, breaking through your ideas of what success is, like breaking through all that is hard work.
Yeah.
But if you're willing to go through the process, then you break free.
Mm-hmm.
And what happens is that once that little butterfly, she breaks out of the cocoon, she falls to the ground in exhaustion, and she's laying there. And as she's laying there, then she's got these new things, and she's like, I just feel like I'm supposed to flap them. So she starts flapping. And as she starts to flap her wings, all of the excrement that was in the cocoon with her literally gets shot back up into her body and into her wings and hardens.
Really?
So all of the crap that you've been through is what gives you the strength to fly. And so it's whether it's your traders, whether it's, a man or a woman that has gone through divorce, whether it's, no matter what it is, like what happens is we get used to seeing ourselves as merely a caterpillar.
Mm-hmm.
But the DNA of your butterfly is inside of you. The DNA of your purpose is inside of you. And being willing to let go of that old mindset of, I'm just a caterpillar. I'm just,
Right.
I'm just this, I'm just that. Like the reason it is imperative for every man and every woman to become a butterfly, to soar, is because of this one thing, and this is why I wrote the book and Summon to Soar, is because when when the butterfly begins to flap her wings
Mm-hmm.
and she can fly, she can go places that she's never gone before, she can do things that she's never done before,
Exactly.
but something incredible happens. As she is faithful to flap her wings and do what she was created to do, she can catch the tailwind, and the tailwind can carry her to places that she can never go on her own.
Hmm.
And so, something magical does happen. Something, it that success when you're think about somebody who, they're putting stuff, it's like going viral, it's like
Right.
something magical happens to where, you go
There's an
from,
outside influence that comes
there's
in
an,
and just takes you.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. And so even for your listeners, I just want to encourage them and inspire them, like, you know, get in touch with the DNA of your purpose, of that call. Go after what you want. Decide, I am a successful, and so I'm just going to
Right.
do the actions that a successful person would do. And I'm not going to let a loss define me.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to let fear define me
And stop me. Yeah.
and stop me. That's it.
And that's one thing about the butterfly and the cocoon. I know one of our friends had got us one.
Mhm.
I guess you can buy them, or maybe she got it off the ground. I don't know, but there was a caterpillar.
Yeah.
And there was some little sticks or leaves in a cup, and she had covered the cup, and she gave it to us, and she said, "Look here, hold this, keep it, and it's going to turn into a butterfly."
Yep.
So we were watching it day after day, and the caterpillar was walking around, I guess, eating the leaves, and then finally it turned into a cocoon. And we're waiting, and we're waiting, and we're waiting, and we're waiting, and nothing happened. And my wife got a little like, maybe it died, maybe it happened. What happened? Maybe we should help it. So she took a little, like a pin, and she poked a little hole in the bottom of the butterfly,
Yep.
and or the cocoon, and it died. The poor
Yep.
thing died. And then we told our friend, and she's like, no, you have to let it kick its way out by itself, because otherwise it won't be strong enough to survive outside of the cocoon if it gets the help. It has to do it by itself.
Yeah. So Alan, like your listeners, like they have to push the button.
Yeah.
They have
Yeah.
to do it. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
You can't push the button for them.
Right.
So yeah, it's exactly, and it's the kicking, it's that strengthens the butterfly for flight.
Mm-hmm.
And so pushing that button, like it's preparing them for the next level of success.
Yep. So, okay, one final question for you, because I know you got to go. So then how do we get clear about what we want? Like, how do I know, okay, I'm caterpillar now. I want to be the butterfly. How do I know what butterfly looks like?
Well, that's a really great question. I think that you can do that a couple different ways. I think you can do it just by, I think there's a lot of breakthroughs that you can get on your own if you listen to yourself think and you listen to yourself talk.
Okay.
And then I'm a big proponent of journaling, of really just like dream building, like, and you have to have that quiet time where you can really sit and think, what do I really want? Because we're not conditioned to sit and ask ourselves, what do we want? We're mostly just conditioned to kind of like get on the hamster wheel and stay on the hamster wheel,
Right.
go through life, do
This is
this.
what I'm supposed to do.
Yeah.
My parents expect this. My kids want this. I got to do this.
Yes. But I believe that your dreams and your desires, like all of that supports what your purpose is, the message that you're here to speak, the hurt that you're here to heal, all of those things. And so really just taking the time to sit and journal and ask yourself the right questions. You can hire a life coach, which makes it go faster.
Mm-hmm.
I help people, really identify who they are, why they're here, and what they want to do in 12 weeks. And so, I help them do that quickly
Mm-hmm.
because I have a process that, so that you don't have to ask yourself, well, what questions do I need to ask myself? What do I need to be journaling?
Right.
So I kind of take you on that journey.
Can you give us a couple of those questions now?
Yeah, but yeah. So one of the questions that, again, there, are several questions that really changed my life. And this one, this one blew the doors off of everything for me. And my life, this is a big question. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I got my
My
pen.
life coach asked me, she said, what do you really, 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 really want?
Like six reallys. Okay.
Because what happens is that we settle for kind of the first really.
The superficial stuff.
Yeah.
Kind of.
And when you start digging down, well, why do I want that?
Mm-hmm.
A great exercise that I like to take people through is called the 5 whys.
Yeah.
And, again, it kind of helps you get to the answer to that question that I just asked, well, what do you want? Well, why do you want that? Well, why do you want that?
And what's important about that and why? Yeah,
What's important?
exactly.
That's it. Yeah.
Yep.
So it helps you just to drill down, because I think that a lot of times for most of us, we just settle and we don't take the time to really get in touch with, what is our heart really longing for?
Mm-hmm.
And when you know that, then you get tunnel vision.
Yeah.
And it's like a horse with blinders. Like you're no longer distracted by other people's dramas. You don't have to be a people pleaser. You're no longer a perfectionist. You're no longer a procrastinator. Like you're focused.
You work on your own self and you don't worry about anybody else and what they think about you or what their
Yep.
expectations are. Yep, exactly.
Yep. You just go.
Awesome. So Angela, how do our listeners find out more about you? You have a website, or I know
I
your book
do.
is called Summon to Soar.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. So my book is on Amazon, but my really everything is at AngelaAja.com. www.AngelaAja,
Okay,
AngelaAja.com.
cool.
And a link to my book is on there, coaching everything.
Awesome. Awesome. And you said you had a 12-week program that where they can figure out what they want and who they are and all that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, I mean, if that's if anybody's interested in that, there's a place where they can book a call and
And talk to you to see if it would be a good fit.
Yep.
And you do one-on-one as well if they need that?
Yes, I sure do.
Awesome.
Yes.
Awesome.
Thank you so much.
Great. No,
This
this
has
was
been
wonderful.
really
Thank you.
fun.
Yeah, I took a whole bunch of notes. All your questions, I got them.
Good.
So, that was awesome. Great. Thank you so much, Angela.
Awesome. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.